Hello designers, and welcome back to another Affinity Designer tutorial. In my previous videos I've covered basic isometric shapes, mainly with straight edges. So today I'm going to be introducing shapes with more rounded and curved edges. Using this bar scene I created earlier, I'll show you how to create those curved sections so you can go about designing something very similar. Let's dive into the bar. Okay, before we get started, I'll just say that if you're new to isometric design, definitely check out some of my other videos where I start from scratch and you can follow along with me and learn how to create isometric grids and use the isometric panel in Affinity Designer, and it'll lead you on nicely to this tutorial. But if you haven't, you should be able to follow along as well. So let's just fly around this bar and see what we've created. So first off, the actual building. This is the first bit I will show you how to create. So this wall here, curving around and going around this section, this will be the first thing I show you. And the second thing I will show you is this window section here. That will lead nicely on from there. And then zooming in further, we've got a few bar stools here and a bar, kind of an easy straight edged one here. And zooming in a little bit further, we have a kind of beer on tap here. And if you want to know how I created this shape here, I have done a tutorial on that as well, and I'll leave a link in the description. That's a cool little trick to know. And we have a few bottles in the background. Let's zoom out a little bit, see what else we have. Okay, so we also have this cardboard box in the corner. It's another video I've done. If you want to know how to create a cardboard box with these flaps that are open at different angles, then you can learn that as well. Link in the description. The next thing we have is an entrance that goes upstairs and an awning on top. This I will show you how to create in this tutorial also. There's a bar upstairs as well. Same thing, we've got the stools, we've got these little tables and another bar which I copy and pasted and just changed the color. Moving down, we have our bench. Now this one's an interesting one to create. It looks like it might be difficult, but it really isn't, and that's why we're all here to learn. And the last thing I will show you is how to create this arch over the door. Okay, let's get started. If you're following along with me, I'll quickly show you my document setup. I'll click on that, and my dimensions are 1280 by 1280, 72 dpi, color is RGB. I have my snapping turned on. And here's what I have ticked. And the next thing we're going to need is our isometric panel. So head up to View, Studio, and Isometric. And it's popped up here. It might pop up here for you. Okay, now I'm going to delete a few layers from the layers panel here so that we can just concentrate on the wall. I'll delete the pavement and the box. And I'll just make this white background and I'll delete this. And you can see we're left with just this here. And if I open up our layers, I've grouped them together. The window is one whole section here. So I'm just going to delete that. Now you see we have our wall. I've called it building, and we have a couple of shapes in here that have effects applied to them. I'm going to delete those. And we're just left with a gradient. And I can just make that one color. So this is the shape that we had. I'm going to show you how to create that from scratch right now. So let's bring up our grid. How you do that is View and then Show Grid. The shortcut is here. We're going to use that, Command and single quotation mark. And the shortcut is there in the bottom left. And now we're going to make sure that Side is selected, Edit in Plane is selected, and we're going to grab our rectangle tool. And we're just going to draw out a rectangle, maybe something like that. The next thing, we're going to want to duplicate this, so you can press Command J and that will duplicate it, as you see here in the layers panel. I'll just change the color of that slightly, and I'll go up to the transform tool and I'll click on flip horizontal. You can also do this by just pressing on front and drawing out another shape on the side there. Okay, I'm going to press V, the move tool, so we're back to our arrow again. And I'm just going to snap these in place. I'm just going to zoom in so I can get that right. So that's now snapped into place. And the next thing we're going to want to do is drag that out a little bit more. I'll just activate front so we can see the grid. I'll make that a little bit longer. And we have a shape similar to the one I've just deleted. Okay, the next thing we're going to want to do is add these two shapes together. I'll just hide the grid. So I'm going to select both of them in the layers panel. I'll press Shift and select the other one. And I'll go up to the geometry tools and click on Add. That's added both of those shapes together, so it's now one shape. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is round off these sharp corners here. So I'm going to go over here to the corner tool. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to select both of these nodes. So I'm going to click and drag over both of the nodes, so they're both selected, and I'm going to drag up until we get a curvature that we're happy with. And I'm just going to press Bake Appearance, and that will set that curve in stone whether we scale it up or down. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is click on the Fill tool, shortcut is G, and we're going to recolor this. So I'll just click off of Edit in Plane, and I will click and drag out and across like that. So we have our blue color here. I'll make it slightly lighter on this side and slightly darker on this side, maybe something like that. And in the middle here, I want the light to catch the side a little bit more. So I've just clicked on this area and I'm just going to make a lighter color there. Now you can see the gradient is going across quite a bit there, and I want to make sure that's very evident that there's light catching the corner here. So I'm just going to drag these little handles you see here and push it across on both sides. Going to drag that up a little bit so it looks straight, and press the V, the move tool, and here we go. We've got the start of our building, the outside of it, and the curved corner. Okay, let's name the layer we've just created and call it Wall, and press Return. Okay, we're going to create the window section now. So what we're going to do is duplicate this shape we've just made. So Command J, shortcut for duplicate, and we're going to change it to a different color. And next thing we're going to do is click on the node tool, and we're going to select all of these nodes up here. So keep your finger on Alt and click and drag, and you can draw around all the nodes you want to select. Now let's activate our grid so we can see what we're doing. Command single quotation mark. They're still selected, you see. And just select one of the nodes, just hover over it and keep your finger on Shift and click and drag down like that. And we'll just go in a little bit further so that we can see where the lines are. Okay, that looks good. Let's do the same with the bottom load of nodes. So Alt, click and drag around all of the nodes you want. Let's zoom in a little bit, and we'll keep your finger on Shift and hold, drag it up, and maybe to somewhere like maybe that for now. And we'll just drag the sides in as well, holding Shift as we drag. I'll just click on side plane. I think we'll drag it out one more. There we go. We have our window. Let's name it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is click on top in current plane mode. And we're going to duplicate this. First of all, I'll just click on V, which is our move tool. So we're going to duplicate it, Command J. And we're going to change this into a different color again. I'll just turn it into a very dark blue like that. And what we're going to do is clip this inside of the window. So I'll just rename the one we've just duplicated. I'll just call this room. Press Return. So we're going to drag it down and to the right, and that will clip it inside. You'll see what I mean when I let go. Okay, so click and drag upwards whilst holding Shift. And we'll just go in a little bit so we can see how many we're going to go up. So let's drag it up one more. So there's 3 little blocks there. Okay, so this section here, this will be our main room where we'll stick the bar and everything else. I won't go through all of it, but you'll see what we'll create next. We're still concentrating on the kind of thickness of the walls. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to click on front, and we're going to click on the rectangle tool, and we're going to zoom in, and we're going to press escape so that nothing is selected here. I'm just going to snap it to around about here. We're going to make it 3 wide. You can see I forgot to do something. I'll just press Command Z to go back. You have to click on Edit in Plane, so we'll click on that, and we'll go ahead and draw out our new rectangle. Okay, I'll just make that a little bit lighter. I'll just choose this color here, so it's slightly darker, and we'll drag that up all the way. And we can just drag that down on the layers panel and just to the right there, so it's above the room. So this is the thickness of our wall. So we're going to duplicate that and add it onto the other side. So I'm going to click on V, our move tool. I'm going to press Command J to duplicate that. Head up to transform again, click flip horizontal. I'm going to drag it across here, and I'll zoom in so I can get it snapped into place. Okay, the next thing we're going to want to do is just add a little window into here. So I'm going to grab room, and we're going to duplicate that, Command J. I'm just going to drag that up to the top layer here. And I'm going to change the color to something lighter, some lighter kind of blue like that. And we're just going to drag it down a little bit. I'll just click on side over here. And I'm going to make it the opacity so we can see what we're doing. Now it's a window. It's a bit transparent. Okay, actually, I think I'll choose top for this. I'll just drag it down so it's between those two. So it's like 1.5 thick. And the next thing I'll do is click on A, the node tool, and we'll select these two nodes, hold down Shift and drag out like that. So that's that side done, and we'll do the same on this side as well. And I'll get rid of the grid so we can see what we've created. And press V, the move tool, go back to that. Okay, so we have our wall. This is the thickness of our wall and our windowsill. And we have a window that's a bit transparent here. And I'll just rename that because it's still named room. And I could probably bring the opacity down a little bit more. So from this point forward, you would go to room and you'd start creating maybe that dance floor we were talking about earlier. So I won't go into the full detail of creating that because that would be quite kind of simple if you've watched some of my other videos, but basically you'd still be in edit in plane and top. You click on the rectangle tool and you just click somewhere like that and drag outwards. Let's just make it, I don't know, yellow for now, so it's you can see it properly. We'll bring up the opacity. Okay, so you'd have it here, and you can see it's going over our windowsill. We don't want that, so we have to clip it inside of the room. So click down and drag to the right, and now it's inside that room. And if we just activate the grid again, you could drag it out so that it covers like full blocks here. And you could just drag again. We're still in the rectangle tool. We could just drag it out a square, something like that. Maybe make it white. Press V, the move tool, and I would press Command J to duplicate that, and then keep my finger on Shift and click and drag down, and I'll just leave it one block across. And now that we've pressed Command J, we can press Command J again to power duplicate. So I press Command J until I was happy with that, and then all of them selected here. I'd probably press Command G to group them, and then Command J again to duplicate that. You can see there's another duplicate there. Keep your finger on Shift and drag across one, and just press Command J again. So we have all of our shapes there. You could change the color of all of them to whatever color you want. I've got them all selected in the layers panel. And you could also add a layer effect to it, maybe like an outer glow. And you could choose a color for it and click on the radius. And it's kind of shining through a little bit here. You see, if I just make that slightly darker, maybe a different color. Let's go like dark kind of red. You can see there's a kind of glow to it. And what I did, I just changed each block to a different color, and then I would also, on each layer effects that I'd add to it, I'd change the color of that glow so it matched the color of the square here on the dance floor. So if you remember on the original bar design, we had a strip of light up here, well, a strip that went around the building that was a kind of light source. I'll quickly show you how to create that. So just click on the wall shape here, and we're going to duplicate that. And then we're going to do the same again, where we press A, and we'll select the nodes, click Alt, drag around the nodes you want. And I'm just going to drag it up, click Shift, drag up to around about here. We'll change the color of it so we can see what we're doing. I'll make it a gray color for now, and I'll drag it up a little bit more. Just to activate my grid, and I'll drag it up to about somewhere like that. I'll just make it a thin one, and I'll press V, I'll move tool again, and I'll just drag it down to about here. Okay, so the next thing I do is I will click on A again, node tool, select these, and I would just drag these out just one block here, and I do the same with the other side. I'll click on front here and drag it out. So we have our main sort of shape. Just get rid of that grid, and what I do is I just click on the fill tool and just click off of edit in plane and just drag out something like that. I just kind of fill it with some colors, so I'll go ahead and do that now. Well, I'll make it black and white. There we go, something that looks a bit like that. It's a bit kind of metallic looking. So the next thing I'd want to do is just kind of add a little bit of thickness to that. So I'd go ahead and copy that, Command J, and I'll just grab the bottom layer and I'll just drag it up slightly like that. I'll make that black. As you can see, I'll just activate our grid again and press side. I just go in and click on A, the node tool, and I just create a little node here. I'll just make sure it's straight. If I press Alt and click on it, if it turns into one of those round handles, that means it's not in a total straight line. I'll just create another node here. So I click on there and I just delete this node. So there we go. It's going along the building. You can see the thickness of it. And I do the same to the other side as well. Go ahead and click, click, click. Oh, you can see this one isn't a straight one. So I'll just keep my finger on Alt and click. And that's made sure it comes to a point. And I'll just get rid of the grid so we can see what we've created. And now we have our light strip here. And if you remember as well, there was different colors coming down. So maybe this is a kind of source of light where like purple might be coming or blue. So just to make it more evident, I will select the wall, press on G so we can get back to our fill tool. And I'll just make this a little bit darker. Maybe I'll make it much darker and this side a little bit lighter, just a tiny bit. Okay, so with the wall selected, just press V, the move tool, and we're just going to draw out a rectangle. So I'm going to click on the rectangle tool, and I'm going to click on front and edit in plane, activate my grid, and I'm just going to drag out maybe from somewhere around here, just going to drag out some kind of shape like that. And I'll just click on the fill tool again and click and drag down. Maybe this will be a kind of purple color. So I'll choose a kind of pink color there. Get rid of that node, click on it, press delete. And this side, I'll just make it completely opaque like that. And I can add if you get onto effects here, layer effects, click on that, and we'll go to Gaussian blur, and we can just drag that out like that. And you can play around with it now that you've done that. Take the grid off. If it looks like it's a little bit too much, you can bring down the opacity even more, like that. Or you could try playing around with the different kind of layers here, where it lets in different light, multiply, color burn. cycle through one that you think kind of works, a screen maybe, so it's showing a little bit of what's in the background. So with that, you could just duplicate that and you could flip it around with the transform tool. Just drag it over here and you can change the color of that to whatever color you want. So maybe it's something a bit more like that this time, and bring down the opacity a bit more. So you're kind of getting a nice neon vibe going on here. Okay, I'll just briefly show you how to finish off the roof. I won't concentrate on it too much because I want to show you more of the curves, but just to finish it off in case you're wondering and you haven't seen my other videos. So I'm on the bottom layer here underneath the wall. I'm just going to activate the grid. Just going to zoom. Just going to click and I'm in the rectangle, edit in plane and top. So I'll just click and drag that out to about here and just snap it into place. I choose some kind of dark color maybe there. So we have the basics of our roof. If I made it a bit taller, this would make sense, but what I do next is I just click on wall and I duplicate that again. And then I would make it, I'll make it an even lighter gray maybe. So we have our wall there, light gray one. I'm just going to click and drag that down and clip it inside of our roof. This one would be our roof. I'll just quickly name it. So we have our wall. Okay, what we're going to do, just click on V, the move tool, and we're going to click and drag upwards. And say it's like 3 blocks across there. This is our old shape. What we do, just click on A, the node tool, and I just drag in one of these nodes in 3 deep there. Get rid of these two, delete them. I click and drag up to the top. So it's just 3 going across the whole way. And you can delete that node there. From this point, it's just a matter of grabbing the rectangle tool and going in and just drawing out the kind of sides. So you've got a bit of a wall effect going on there. So I just press escape and I just click and drag somewhere like that. Make it slightly darker. It's gone on the top layer there, but I'll just click and drag it down till it's underneath there. I'll click and drag it inside so it's clipped inside of there. And I just drag it up. And I do the same with the other side, and then you can start building upon this design. Command J, flip it around, press V, move tool, get it in there. And maybe something like that, and then you can put whatever you want inside. Now I'll just mention that you can see this glowing neon color. It's kind of spilling over to the top of our building, and that's because these 2 shapes here, this one and this one, are not clipped inside of our main building wall shape. So how I'd get around that, as I'll just zoom in so you can see, I just click, drag down and clip it inside the wall like that, slightly to the right, and you can see the color's gone away. If I drag it back, you can see it comes back. So once they're in there, it's not going to spill on over to any of your other shapes. Let's design the next object. We're going to create the bench. So I'm just going to delete everything and start from a clean slate. We're going to activate our grid and I'm going to click on front, edit in plane, and we're going to select the rectangle tool. And then up in snapping, I've changed a couple of things to make sure our objects snap together well. We'll see how we go, but you'll have to change this occasionally on depending on what you are doing. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and draw out our first shape. So I'll make it 3 across here. I'll just change the color of it to a kind of light pink so we can see the grid lines underneath. I'm just going to check that they're snapping into place. Okay, ready for the next one. Let's click on top. And we're going to click and drag out. And make sure that kind of snaps into place there. And we'll keep doing that. I'll make this section a little bit taller because this will be the backrest of the bench. And one more. I'll make this 3 small squares across. Okay, so we have our shapes. The next thing we're going to want to do is select all of them. So that first one is selected in the layers panel. Keep my finger on shift and select the bottom layer. So they're all selected now. Now I'm going to go up to geometry and I'm going to click add. And you can see 2 of them. You can see a blue line here. It means these ones haven't added together. It's not all one shape, although it seems like it there. If I grab the node tool and I click out, you can see they're not quite there yet. And we need them to be because we're going to be using the corner tool next. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to press Command Z to go back a couple of steps until we have all of those. I'm going to go up to snapping and I'm going to take off of snap to grid. So it just snaps to the object bounding boxes and shape key points. Okay, so I'm going to select this one here. And I'm just going to make sure, yes, that's snapped into place. And I'll just double check this one as well. And we'll try again. Okay, that still hasn't worked. Sometimes you'll have to fiddle around with the options that you choose here. This is probably my fault. Also, if you run into these kind of problems, there is another thing you can check on. Go into Affinity Designer, Preferences, and you see Use Precise Clipping. You can tick that on. It is on already, but there is a little workaround for this. So I'm just going to press back one more time, like Command Z, and I'm going to choose this shape here. I'm going to click on Convert to Curves. I'm going to click on the node tool, which we're on already. I'm just going to create a node there. Click that, and I'm kind of making sure it's overlapping the shape underneath. And I'll do the same for this one too. So Convert to Curves, and click, drag, click and drag like that. And now I will try again. So selected all of them and click, and it's all been added now. There's no blue lines there. Now when you do this, it can create another couple of nodes in there, so you just got to go around and get rid of the extra ones. And sometimes they add extra nodes in these places, so we're just going to just double check on that. There we go, there's an extra one there. I'll just check all around. So it's definitely a good lesson to try and get your snapping correct the first time. Okay, so that looks good now. All right, so the next step we're going to do is we are going to use the corner tool. So click on the corner tool and hold down Alt and click and drag, so we can drag around the nodes that we want to select, which is all of the middle ones, just leaving out the top 2 and the bottom 2. Now we're going to click on one of the nodes and drag outwards. And you can see that there's smoothing off of corners going on here. And then I just want to select these 2 nodes in the middle. I'll just click on Alt and just select these 2. And I'll click on this little red dot you see here that's been created. And I just want to have a bit less of a curve there. Okay, so next thing, click on Bake Appearance. And that will set that in stone, so to speak. And we're going to start giving this a gradient. Click on the gradient tool, shortcut is G. Whilst we're still in Edit in Plane, we're going to click and drag down. And when you use the Fill tool in the isometric mode, when you've got the grid on, it brings up these 2 extra colors over here with the dotted lines. And with this, well, I'll just add a little color here so that you can see the difference. Slightly lighter. I'll make it like that so it's a bit more evident. When I drag these 2 up and I kind of snap it with the grid, you can see it kind of works a little bit better. It's following along the lines. So this will help you a lot. On each point that is the furthest out, I want light to catch that. So I'm gonna make that really bright, and this one I'm gonna make much darker. maybe somewhere like that. And again, I'm going to add one here, make it a little bit lighter. And I'll just change a couple of these colors here to make them slightly darker. And I'm just going to play around with these handles until I think I've got the right look. Next thing we're going to do is draw the side of our bench. So I'm going to grab the pen tool and I'm just going to go up to snapping again and click on snap to grid. I'm going to press V and then I'm going to press escape so that nothing is selected. Now I'm going to press P for the pen tool. I'm just going to click on this corner up here and I'm going to hold down shift so it's a straight line until it meets up with this line down here. And I'm going to go to this corner. And from this point, I will just click anywhere in there because this will be hidden. And I'll make this a kind of dark pinky purple color like that. And I'll just press V, the move tool, and I'll just drag this down so it's underneath. I'll hide the grid. So there we go. You've created a kind of object with rounded off corners and edges, and it works in an isometric space. Hello designers, I thought I'd give you a little break and just show you a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes. So currently I'm editing the tutorial. I finished doing the tutorial and I have all the footage. And I'm just editing in DaVinci Resolve, which is a really cool editing program. And currently I'm just sort of checking my pop-up titles. So like, say this one here, if I just zoom in a little bit, this is the kind of little titles that I add there so you know what section you're on. And also if I just zoom in on this section as well, you have the little shortcuts that I use that pop up just to remind you of which keys to use. So there's a lot of other edits here as well. Lots of them are me umming and ahhing. But if you do like the videos and you enjoy them and you're learning something, please consider hitting subscribe and I'll keep making videos. All right, back to designing. The next thing we're going to make is this door arch right here. Okay, so first things first, let's grab the pie tool. If you can't see it there immediately, it will be down here, just right here, pie tool. Okay, and we're going to just click anywhere and drag out. I'm holding shift and command together to keep it in proportion. I'm going to let go and I'll just make it dark color for now. And I'm going to click and drag around till it snaps into place. And I'll do the same for the other side too. I'm going up until I see that kind of symbol there. And then we're going to drag down and it's snapped into place. Okay, so we have our first one. I'll just make that slightly bigger. And we're going to press Command J to duplicate that. We have two now. I'm just going to make that even darker and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take this shape out of there. So we're going to subtract it from that shape. So select both of them and having the black one on top, go up to Geometry Tools and click on Subtract. So now we just have one shape like this. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the rectangle tool and we're going to press escape so that that's no longer selected. And I'm going to kind of go up to this corner here. I'm going to click and drag out until it snaps into place there. And that snapped into place there. And I'll just drag it up a little bit. And let's zoom out and drag the handle down. So this will kind of be our doorway. And the next thing I'm going to do is press Command J and that's going to duplicate it. I'm going to press V for the move tool. I'm just going to click on Shift and drag it across till it snaps into place again. Okay, so that's good. Let's select all of those and we're going to click on Add. So now that's just one shape that you have there. Just make it a little bit smaller here. Okay, so I'm going to make this slightly darker and we're going to create some of those flashy lights around the side there. So I'm just going to grab the ellipse tool and I'm just going to drag out a circle like down here. I'm going to make it white, or let's make it white and then give it a stroke. So if I click on this, this will be our stroke. Just give it a kind of yellow color, maybe slightly darker orange. and I'll make that bigger up here. I'll increase the width slightly. Okay, so now I'm going to head down here to Effects, Layer Effects, and I'm going to click on Gaussian Blur. And I'm just going to drag up the radius a little bit. So you see in the middle there, it's kind of like the white light, and then this is the kind of halo of yellow that you might get. Just drag it down the bottom here and make it slightly bigger, maybe somewhere like that. I'm going to duplicate that, so Command J to duplicate. Just going to drag it up a little bit, and then I'm going to press Command J a few times like that. And I'm going to select this one here, and I'm going to press Command J again and again. And I'll just kind of position these where I think they should go for now. You could draw a line up and around here to get it right. And I will select our first few. I will press Command J to duplicate those. I'll just click and drag across whilst holding Shift. I'll just reposition these slightly. Okay, so we have our kind of flashy arch now. Let's grab all of these and just clip them inside of our shape, our arch shape. Activate the grid again. And what we're going to do, we're going to press Front, and we're going to press Fit to Plane. So now that's fit to the plane. We'll make that slightly smaller, holding down Shift to keep it in proportion. I'll just kind of line it up to one of these grid lines. Okay, so we have our first shape. The next thing we're going to do is press Command J to duplicate that again. I'll just grab the bottom layer. I'm going to grab everything in there and just delete it. I'm going to make this a slightly lighter color so that we can see what we're doing. On the fill, I'm going to make it lighter, sorry. Okay, so from this point, we're going to press on top, and we're going to hold down Shift, click and drag outwards like that. You can see the green line it's following. I'll drag it to about probably here. Okay, from this point, we're going to click on A, the node tool, and I'm just going to line some of these nodes up and create a few more. So this will be kind of behind the arch. Just going to drag that out like that so that we can hide all of these gaps. I'll just click here, click again, and just press Alt and click to bring it to a sharp point there, just so I can drag that and it won't affect this. Okay, so far that's good. Let's head down and sort this side out. So I'll click and drag it to that point there. And we'll do the same again for this one, so we can hide all of that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to fill this gap here. So I'm just going to select both of these, click on the move tool. I'm just going to position the two edges to the grid. We're going to use that as a kind of guide. So they're both touching there now. I'm going to press on the pen tool. And I'm going to click on one of these edges here. And I'm going to hold down Shift until I get to one of the points over here. And I'm just going to click anywhere there, and I'm just going to make it completely black. In fact, I will make it grey the same to see whether it blends in nicely. So I'll drag that to the bottom so we can see what it looks like. And I'll just take off the grid for a moment. So we've joined up all the edges. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab the shape we've just made here to fill in that gap, and also the grey background. And I'm going to add these together with the geometry tools. I'm going to click Add, and now it's all just one shape. So the next thing you want to do is click on the gradient tool and click from the top and just drag downwards like that. So to say the top bit will be a kind of lighter purple, and the bottom one will be, click on purple again, a kind of darker purple like that. Now this kind of works, but it wouldn't be so light on the inside here maybe. So if you did want to change that, just click on the move tool, V again, and we'll duplicate this shape here again. So I'm just going to name it, I'll just name it back for now. So we're going to duplicate that, Command J, and what we're going to do is we're going to start getting rid of these. We're going to make it two shapes. So click on the node tool again. And what I'm going to do from this point here, and these, I'm going to cut all of this away now. Just keep selecting the nodes until they're kind of all gone. On that side, one last one, there we go. Okay, so this back point here, we can now recolor this. So I'm going to grab the gradient tool again, and I'm going to click up from here. So this would be the slightly darker section here because it's underneath. It would get darker there. And let's just press on V, the move tool, to see what we've created. And I'm just going to change the color of the front here to some kind of deep purple. And we have our doorway arch. Next up, we're going to make this awning right here. Activate your grid and click on front, edit in plane, and select the pie tool. Okay, let's zoom in. And we're just going to draw from the center here and just drag out until it snaps into place. Now click on one of these orange dots and drag it around like that. So we've kind of got a quarter of a pie, and just give that any color for now, maybe a light one, and click on move tool and then click on convert to curves. So we have our first shape. Okay, so next up, what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate it, and we're going to click on shift and drag out like that. Probably better to be in that view for this. So we're going to drag it like that. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this again. So Command J to duplicate it and drag it, holding shift, and just make that a different color so we know, and make it go on top in the top layer. So basically in this one, we're going to cut a little bit of this shape out. But before I do that, I'm just going to click on A, the node tool, and I'm going to make this, let's see, I'm going to click on the node there, and I'm just going to bring it out till about 2 across, 2 of these little small squares across. And I'll do the same here, 2 across, and again, 2 across there. Just going to grab our original shape. I'll just press V. I'll just move it back a bit. This is what we want, 2 across. From here, we're going to want to cut this blue shape out of our shape underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and select both of them, and I'm going to click on the geometry tool, subtract. So what we're left with is this shape here. I didn't get it quite right, as you can see, but I could just delete that node, and that's great. Okay, so I'll make this a kind of blue color, and I'll click on the move tool again, and we're going to select this shape again, and we're going to duplicate it. I'm going to drag it up, right up to the top until it's underneath there. I'm going to press A for the node tool again, and I'm going to click on anywhere there and just drag out and snap it into that point there. Just make it slightly darker for now, and I'll drag this node all the way over and snap to the top point there as well. Now I'm going to drag this shape up so that we're kind of hiding what's behind there. And what we're going to do now that it looks a bit like an awning, I'm going to click on this one. Well, I'll click the move tool so I can select that. And we're going to power duplicate this. So Command J to start off, and then click and drag out till about there. And we're just going to do this a few times. I'm going to press Command J, keeping my finger on Command, and just going to press Command J a few times like that. Till about there. Okay, now I'm just going to drag this shape just out a little bit till it meets up with this shape here. I'm just going to make sure underneath that that's also going to cover that whole area. So I'll just drag it out till it meets the points again. Okay, so with these shapes here, we're going to press geometry. We're going to press add so that they're all kind of one shape. And then we're going to nest it or clip it inside of our larger shape here. So I'm going to click on it, drag down and to the right, and now that's inside of that shape. Okay, it's time to start coloring it a little bit. So I'm just going to get rid of the grid. I'll select this color first. Click on the gradient tool or the fill tool. I'm just going to drag out like that. I'm going to choose a lighter color on top. So if we imagine the kind of building is here and there's some kind of light source coming down, I'm going to make this the lightest color, maybe something like that. And down here is going to be really dark, maybe something like that. And I'm just going to drag these down a little bit. And next thing we're going to do, we're going to select these colors underneath, the ones that we added in the geometry tools. And I'm going to add a fill to this as well. So I'm going to click and drag from the top again, click it down. I'm going to drag that till it meets up. Okay, so from here again, this is going to be blue, but it's going to be the lightest part. So I'll make it go somewhere like that. And again, I'm going to make this pretty dark down here. Okay, so the next thing, press V, the move tool, and we're just going to click on this and we'll give this a kind of color as well, make it kind of dark. In fact, we can grab the eyedropper tool and just drag somewhere down here to get a kind of dark color, something like that, maybe a bit lighter. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to want to do is create those circles that we saw earlier. So go ahead and grab the ellipse tool. Head on over to click on any of these points here. We'll just click on side and we'll activate the grid again just so we can see where we are. In fact, let's make it from this point here so it covers 2 small squares across, and I'll just kind of match it to the darkest color down here. And press V, the move tool, and Command J, which is going to duplicate it, and just drag it across. And now we're going to press Command duplicate a few times. Just zoom out to see where it's going to end up. That's all done. Let's select all of these and we'll just tidy it up by clicking add. So they're all the same shape here. And you can see this is an awning, kind of like the one I had before. Probably chosen not the best colors here, but that is how I made it. Okay, next object we're going to create is the bar stool here. Now I might make it a little bit different in color. The reason it's yellow slightly here is because I thought it might reflect the light underneath the bar here. So let's go ahead and create that. Make sure top is selected, edit in plane, grab the ellipse tool, zoom in and click and drag from the center holding shift and command till about there. Now let's choose some kind of color. In fact, let's add a gradient to that. So click on the fill tool, click on the center and drag out like that. Now let's change it from type linear to elliptical. So we've got a light color in the middle and a slightly darker one on the outside. I'll just drag the handle out a little bit like that. And that's our first shape done. I'm back on the move tool now. I'm going to press Command J to duplicate that. Click on the underneath shape that we just created, and I'll just choose a kind of dark color for that. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is click on Convert to Curves, and we're just going to fill this gap here. But instead of using the pen tool this time, we're just going to use the node tool. So click on A for the node tool and hover somewhere around the outside there. Just kind of eyeball it, and I'm going to click again there. And for this one, I'm going to hold down Alt and click, and that's going to bring it to a straight point. So that side is done. Let's do the same again on this side. Oh, it's snapping into place there. That's good. Create another point up here. Again, Alt, click. That's a straight line now. And that's our tabletop or the top of our chair. So I'll just group that. Command G to group it. And I'll just call it seat. That's the seat of our stool. Press return. Okay, next thing we're going to do is click on rectangle tool. I'm going to click off of edit in plane. I'm going to get rid of the grid for now. I'm just going to click and drag a kind of shape like this. Maybe this will be kind of stem of the stool. Press V for the move tool. Just move it up to the center somewhere. Now I'll activate the grid again. Maybe up there somewhere. And we'll drag it underneath the seat. So it's underneath on that layer. Drag it out. And if you hold down Command on one of the handles and you drag out, you can increase the thickness of it. So I think that will be fine like that. let's change the color of this. So again, the fill tool, go in and click and drag outwards like that. And let's change the color of that to kind of yellow like it was before. Okay, so we have our stem. And now what we want to do is grab the corner tool, and we're just going to sort these sharp corners out here. So I'm going to select both of them and just drag in like that. Now and press bake appearance. Okay, let's draw the base now. We have the top, C, and the stem. Let's draw the base. So I'm just going to click on the ellipse tool. I'm on top, and I'll click on edit in plane. Now I'll just click out and drag, holding shift and command. Drag out something like that. I'll just change the color of that to something kind of like yellow, orangey color. And I'll just drag it up somewhere like that, maybe a little bit smaller than that. And again, we're going to press Command J to duplicate that. And we're going to click it down and clip it inside of here. So we're going to change the color of this to some kind of dark color, maybe something like that. And now we can drag it across a little bit like that and make it smaller. So if we imagine the light color here, that's the kind of reflection off of the bar, the neon bar light that we had in my previous one. I'll just kind of get the same color as this one up here. And what we're going to do now is click on this inside shape, and we're just going to add an effect to that. Gaussian blur, click on radius, bring it up a little bit, and we'll darken that color slightly more. And this is a stool that I had in the bar. If you want to change it to a table, I mean, it's as easy as just kind of dragging it out like that and just making it slightly kind of thinner and sorting out those little edges. And that's how I made it. Okay, let's make some quick steps real quick. Activate your grid, click on side, click on the rectangle tool, edit in plane, click and drag out, and we'll have that as a dark color. Click top. Click and drag down, make it slightly lighter. Now press V, the move tool. Select both of them in your layers panel. Press Command J to duplicate. Drag it up and snap it into place. Now press Command J loads of times, as many times as you need. And to finish off the side there, I'll just click on front. You can click on pen tool. You just click somewhere around there. Keep your finger on shift until it lines up with that bottom section. Click up there, and you can just meet them up like that, and we'll make it a kind of maybe a darker color. Click and drag that so it's at the bottom, and there we go. You have your quick steps. Okay, before we go, I just want to let you know that the pavement here, or the sidewalk you call it, the curb and the double yellow lines are very easy to create. If I just click on the original shape that I showed you how to make, I literally just duplicated that and made it bigger and changed the color. And for the curb here, I just use a pen tool, click, 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 and I converted it to curves. And I just grouped them up and flipped them around and placed them here. With the smaller things like this, as you can see, that's just a bunch of rectangles. So I just power duplicated after I've made one. And with this drop curb here, I used a pen tool and I just clicked around, made a few triangles, and created that. The bar as well, you can see it's just another bunch of rectangles, and with using the gradient as well. And remember, if you're going to check out some of my other videos, if you want to learn how to create this shape here with the smooth corners and smooth edges, you can go and do that. Same thing with the cardboard box. And yeah, so we've covered the awning, the quick steps there, the table, the chairs, the arch, and the crazy bench, and even that really strange 80s dance floor. So I hope you found that tutorial useful. If you did, click like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget, you can leave comments in the comments section and ask questions. We're all here to learn. All right, thank you very much, and see you on the next one.